Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to the live. We got a great live coming up today where we are going to get to introduce to everyone. If you don't know, the House of Amouroud, great bunch of guys. I got to meet them in person at Scent Explorer, so we're really looking forward to having a great time and talking about fragrances, talking about what's going on with Amouroud, and getting into it. We got some people on the IG side. We got some people on YouTube side. Really looking forward to it. Mr. Joel, as usual, got you in there with Scent of the Day, and it is Fig Man. Nice. And we got Scented Paradise and Oud After Dark. Okay, getting into the Amouroud lifestyle. We like it. We love it. We love it. So we've got Mr. Curtis Knows, my buddy from Japan, over on the IG side and along with delivery. Welcome, everybody. And we will get started really quickly. So, Scent of the Day is Gozo by Jeroboam. Nice, Curtis. Nice. We got All World Fragrances. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. So we have All World Fragrances and Joel, also Amouroud Whetstone. This will definitely be an Amouroud day. Yes, everybody, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. We are looking forward to a great show. Some great things. We're talking with Calvin with Amouroud, the creative director, backstage before the show. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things that are going on with Amouroud. A lot of things that he can give us some insight to what's going on in the industry. So we're really looking forward to it. We've got Mr. Kicks Griffey Jr. in the house with the Uncle Charm. Makes me feel old. But Senator Day Creed Viking and Yak Mob. Go on, go on. Let's see what else we got. Nice kicks. Now, these fragrances are great. These fragrances are exceptional. These fragrances are not decent. So I'm just going to put that out there right now for kicks, because I know that we got a little backstory with the decent thing. So welcome, everybody. We got the Scent Lounge group on IG. So first things first, I wanted to give a brief video just on Amouroud, and then we will introduce the creative director, Calvin, young man doing a lot for the space of the fragrance house that is U.S. born and bred, and we've got a lot to get into. We'll get into Mr. Clark. Welcome, sir. Well, good to have you. Good to have you. And Scent of the Day is Untamed by My Greek Lover. Welcome, sir. So we will jump into giving you a brief commercial ad introduction that is on their house as far as Amouroud. So we're looking forward to it. And here you go with some very familiar instrumental background music. All right, man, it is my pleasure to introduce to everyone the creative director from the House of Amouroud, and we've got Calvin. Mr. Calvin, welcome, sir.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going good. It's going good. We have been trying to get this date ironed out since about the beginning of the year. So I'm
Yep.
excited that we were actually able to get that. First things first, my scent of the day is Carissa Flower. So
Nice.
definitely this one to me is floral based. Of course, Carissa is the flower that, but you also have osmanthus, lilac, ylang ylang. It's a soapy clean floral that is definitely great for the warmer weather and the summer scent. I was glad to have this from the Garden Collection. If anybody doesn't know about the Garden Collection, that's one of their newer lines that have come out. You need to get your nose on the Garden Collection, my scent of the day.
Yes, sir. New look, new smell profiles. I'm happy you're enjoying the Carissa.
Nice, nice.
And what's
So
up to the chat? First time streaming. What's up, chat? Charm
you,
City.
you'll be old hat by the time we get through. Miss Christine, welcome, welcome. Senator Day Montel, Lucky Candy. So the first thing I wanted to ask, because I know, like I said, we have been trying to work out dates, and it's either been one way or the other that we weren't able to confirm a date until just recently. What has Amouroud been up to lately? You've been all over the world, and I know that was part of the reason why we were trying to get a date.
Yeah, so just did a Middle East trip, toured through the region, visited a lot of our distributors that we work with over there, and got some insight into the market, what fragrances are working well in different areas, what profiles people are gravitating towards, while developing some really, really nice new fragrances that we've got coming along in the pipeline, and just keeping up with the business. You know, we're a small group. We all do a little bit of everything, so our days are always packed, and then we've been adding these trips in there. So just trying to balance everything.
So just in that, what areas overseas have you visited, and like how is it different with your stores, say like in the Middle East or Dubai, as opposed to a store that's in the United States?
Well, just off the top, I can say that Middle East is much more familiar with oud. So certain regions over there, certain countries over there will gravitate to the heavier, more traditional oud profiles we've seen, and the U.S. traditionally has gravitated to some of our more out of the box oud formulations. But as the world is getting very familiar with oud, so you see a little bit of different preferences everywhere. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting visiting different countries, seeing which is their best seller. We were in Egypt. I think their best seller currently is Dark Orchid. They love that. Real nice, deep, oudi notes. India, they gravitate towards fresh as well. So Whetstone does really well over there. But yeah, it was a whirlwind of a trip. We just got back from early March. We went Egypt to Saudi to India, Qatar, and then finished off in Dubai. And what they're doing out there is really amazing as far as fragrance production and just setting trends and that whole side of the industry.
Nice, nice. We got for Curtis knows he's a YouTube content creator, and he lives in Japan, and he asked any plans to have distribution in Japan.
Oh man, I would love that. Yeah, we've had a couple talks with some store groups, but haven't really found the right fit. Every year we do a show in Cannes, the TFWA Expo, where distributors from all over the world get together and network and meet if you're already in business. And we always have our radar up for anyone from that region. We'd love to make it over to Japan sometime soon.
Nice, nice. So we got some people curious about Oud Tobacco and Oud After Dark. Those are great ones. Oud Tobacco and Oud After Dark. I've put in my scent of the days and give you some information on that, but definitely great. And I know that because
Oud Tobacco is a nice one. That's a top seller.
Yeah, Oud Tobacco
like smoky. If you like smoky, it's something different. It's got cherry pipe tobacco, so it's a little hint of sweetness, so it's not too heavy, too smoky.
Yeah, that one is actually one of my favorite tobacco fragrances, and I actually have a top 10 that I'll be releasing either tomorrow or Saturday of all of my top 10 Amourouds. Oud Tobacco was number 4 in the list.
Ooh,
So that's
nice.
a good one.
Little
Yeah.
spoiler.
Yeah. I was trying to get it just right, but with trying to transition to Dallas and packing and unpacking and doing editing and everything. But definitely, guys, I have 18 samples from Amouroud. If you want to get a sample, you can get on their website. It is definitely well worth you getting your nose on it. Oud Tobacco is definitely a great one. Oud After Dark is another one. I like the kind of dichotomy between Oud du Jour and Oud After Dark, where it's still focusing on that kind of plum, but one is a richer, deeper Oud After Dark, where Oud du Jour is more aromatic. So I really like those as well. Both of those are really, really good, really good.
Nice. Yeah, thought just popped into my head as we're talking. We should have advertised this earlier, but we could do like maybe a giveaway with the chat. Like we could do a selection of the names in the chat and do a random wheel, and I'll send a discovery set to somebody in the chat.
What? Okay. We'll I'll have to figure out how to do that randomly. May because I don't have a wheel, but we'll figure out a way to do. Maybe it'll be with the video, and we'll work out to do a discovery set
All right,
with
cool.
the chat, or maybe I'll look back and see everybody that's on the chat and do like a random sampling
Yeah, exactly. Like
and get it.
they have
Yeah.
those digital wheels now.
So everybody who's in the chat that wants to have the option of getting a free discovery set, please make sure you leave a comment, and we'll definitely work that out. One thing, and we'll get into what's good gems. One thing that we will work into is, I do know that a lot of them, and I've said that on some of the videos and things that I've done where I've featured Amouroud fragrances, is that a lot of your ouds have kind of a westernized feel to it. Could you talk about what you've done and how you've made the oud different than the typical Middle Eastern stuff?
Yeah. So I'll give a little background to the company as well, because it kind of gives the explanation for how the brand was birthed. So our company is called Perfumers Workshop. We've been around since the 70s, and we create brands from scratch. Our first entry to this was a brand called Tea Rose that started out in the 1970s. It's still going today. It was worn by Princess Diana and Nicole Kidman, a list of people throughout the years. But it's a very traditional rose fragrance. And we had an office in France for a long time, and through our business with Tea Rose, it was hugely popular in the Middle East. A lot of our customers started coming to us asking if we had any brands or fragrances that incorporated oud, because it's been popular over there for a long time. And at the time, I was still a kid. This is before my time, but our company wasn't even too familiar with oud. So through over the years and managing and developing our other brands, we always had this oud idea in the back of our head, and continued exploring different oud combinations. Lighter oud fragrances, more straightforward oud fragrances, some where you can't even smell the oud at all. It's blended into the formula in a way that'll make a fresh fragrance extend the last time, because that's one of the main properties of oud is its last time. It's a very heavy resin that extends that silage far longer than most other ingredients. So through our customers' inquiries, we developed a love for oud, which is how the name came about, Amor Oud. So in our French office is where we first came in contact with this ingredient, and throughout many years, we, almost as a passion project, developed and researched different ways to incorporate oud into a fragrance. So that's why some fragrances have a very prominent oud note, like I would say oud du jour, for example, if you really want to smell that straightforward oud note blended with other ingredients, but you can really detect it in the top. Oud du jour is a great one. And then if you want to get into the more outside of the box wet stone, it's aquatic citrusy fragrance. And you
Right.
don't necessarily smell the oud right away, but it's an aquatic citrusy fragrance that lasts as long as a straightforward oud because of how it's blended in.
Great, great. So there is a question about aquatic fragrances, and I will one, he just kind of talked about it. Whetstone is an aquatic fragrance. To me, this is photorealistic, where you get to, it seems like it's salt water, seawater, that ocean water that's on kind of like a smooth sandstone is what I get, and there's kind of a mineral aspect of it too when I smell it. But to me, this is transportive, like straight to your feet are in the sand, the ocean water is coming up on your feet, and you got a sandstone that you're picking up from the sand and putting into your nose. This is an exceptional fragrance, different, that I was probably one of the I think the second or third fragrance that I bought from the house. That one's really good. And one that I recently got was White Sands, which also kind of has that salty aquatic nature as well. Are there any other ones that are kind of aquatic?
Um, citrus, citrusy, yes. Aquatic, not so much. We're in development with a couple right now. If you like Whetstone in that direction of fragrance, I would also recommend Himalayan Woods. It has a sage note in it that's nice, and it's kind of like a smoother smoke, not too smoky, but smokier version of Whetstone in a way. In down that direction, but with a little more depth to it.
Okay, okay. So I do know, and you talked about it in the start, that Amouroud came from Perfumer's Workshop, and I believe that Perfumer's Workshop started in Bloomingdale's in the '70s.
Yeah, yeah.
And how did that all come about? Because I believe that is sort of when niche wasn't really a thing. Perfumer's Workshop was basically doing custom blends in Bloomingdale's. Can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, so the Perfumer's Workshop was founded by a man named Donald Bachner and his wife Gunn in the 1970s. And their first uh, place of sale was a booth in Bloomingdale's. They started with 60 essential oils, and they custom blended fragrances for tailored for their customer, and really developed in the Western world this concept of perfume by appointment and custom fragrance. So they started off with a booth in Bloomingdale's with 60 essential oils, and would custom blend based off of the preference of the customer. So from there, that's how they developed the first brand, Tea Rose, is a very specific rose formulation that people kept coming back for, and they said, I'm going to put this out as a brand. So the very birth of the company came from kind of a niche concept before niche was a thing. Artistic, custom, not mass-produced fragrances tailored for people's individual tastes. So with those essential oils, they had the capabilities to make all kind of combinations tailored to each individual. And that's kind of what niche is about, is individuality, trying to find a rare fragrance that matches your personality or tells a story that you want to tell. So straight from the inception, Perfumer's Workshop has had that niche mindset and creativity that goes into making a niche fragrance.
Nice. So here's a question where they talk about, do the fragrances have a big oud content, or is it a binder for like lengthening the fragrances?
I would say that the classic collection and the black bottles have a higher oud concentration.
Mm.
Um, and as we develop different lines like the White Wood collection and now the Garden collection, we played with different intensities of the oud. All the fragrances are high 20s, low 30s percentage oil percentage. So they all last a very long time, but um, I would say the black collection is your more higher concentration of food, but it varies per fragrance. Each fragrance is
Right.
very, very different. We try not to do anything too redundant as far as new entries to the lines.
So Understanding, I know you're the creative director and you're all in for Amouroud, but just kind of curious, and for everybody that's out here and listening in chat, of course, if you have a question, just like I put other questions up, let it be known. My question now would be, what do you believe is the distinction of Amouroud that separates you from, say, other fragrance brands and things like that?
Well, in concept, the focus on a sole ingredient that is utilized in some way throughout every one of our fragrances is a big part of the story of the brand and how we became introduced to oud and how we fell in love with it. And we tried to pioneer different ways of utilizing oud. Initially, we wanted to make something that could be enjoyed by a Western audience that's maybe a little timid about trying oud, as well as satisfy the, you know, existing love of oud overseas in certain regions. So it was really important to us to make something for everybody. So you know, to find different ways to incorporate this ingredient is kind of the original ethos of Amouroud, and what is something that sets us apart from other brands. Our real focus on a specific ingredient and finding different ways to make that appeal to everyone within the fragrance community. That's been a big goal and mission of the Amouroud brand. So that's something different. We're also a small, not small, but a family-owned and operated company. We're independent, going up against a lot of big companies and corporations. So that's also something unique about us. We're very close, our company, and we really live the fragrance life. You know, our whole life is geared around this. Me and my whole family. So we really do care about our products and our creations and our customers. You know, it's been great getting to interact with real true fans of fragrance and develop these connections like we've developed. So it's nice to be hands-on. That's another thing I think kind of sets us apart, and one of the reasons I really wanted to have this conversation with you and do my first live, because it inspires us to be hands-on and talk right to the people who really love this stuff more than anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Amouroud is blowing up in like our little pocket. We've talked about it. There are a lot of people that have seen some of the Scents of the Day and have gotten into Amouroud from me talking about it. But it is something that we have a lot of people that are in, I guess, our little corner of FragCom that we definitely represent with Amouroud. We really appreciate it. We got a question that was on my list of questions, but I know Curtis knows he is in Friday mode and it's in the morning, so I want to get his question as quickly as possible since I know he's in Japan. Probably
Interrupt whenever.
So
I might be rambling. I can't even tell.
Oh no, it's all good. He was asking about their specific perfumers that you work with, and how do you select perfumers to work with?
So we work with some of the major fragrance houses and have a long-standing relationship through Donald and through the Perfumers Workshop history. So we work directly with companies like Man and Firmenich and Robert Tate and Takasago, and they have their, you know, networks and army of, you know, fragrance experts and genius perfumers. So that's how we connect with the individual perfumers. A couple just examples are Claude Deer. He's a fragrance legend. He actually worked, I think he's maybe retired now, and these new Garden Collection fragrances were some of his last or most recent works, at least. Claude Deer's a big one. Cecile Hua, I hope I'm not saying their names wrong. Patricia Cho is another one.
And are they all from Man? Are they all from Man?
I think those three we were introduced through Man. I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
So we work really closely with the fragrance houses. We have a meeting next week with some to go over new development concepts and fragrances we've been working on to add to the line, potential new brands. It's really important to keep current with them because they can help. They execute the ideas.
Nice. So in general, when and I am a fragrance nerd. I'll just explain that now. And I really like to try to break down a fragrance and to understand and I go through when I do the scent of the days and stuff, I try to find out what's the backstory and stuff like that. Can you walk us through the process as creative director of kind of creating a new Amouroud fragrance, and how does it come to fruition, and how do you decide on this is the one that we're going to release?
Okay, so I'll give an example through the White Woods collection. At the time, we had only had the black classic line, and we wanted to develop something that was a little lighter for the Western palate and a little bit lighter for the really hot months overseas. So we were actually inspired to make this the White Woods collection based off of our winter. Actually, my family, we have a place in upstate New York. My father's from Syracuse, so we've got a lot of family up there. And as a kid, like right before I was born, my parents got a place up there, and it's a barn just in the middle of the country. It was just a hollow barn. And throughout my lifetime, my father's passionate about interior design as well, and my grandfather was a construction worker. So we've just renovated this barn through my whole life. It's been kind of a family passion project. And the winters up there, we used to not be able to even stay because it's freezing, but it's beautiful. The snow is untouched, and it's just straight nature, nobody around. So that's always been a really peaceful place growing up in New York City, having that outlet to go up there and just kind of mellow out. And the winters were always just so inspiring there, just visually alone. And the smell of just untouched nature, just snow. That was one of the big inspirations for Wet Stone, actually, and the whole White Woods collection was going up there in the winter and thinking, how do we capture the coolness of this, feeling up here and translate it into a fragrance that could be worn in the summer and bring that crisp, winter smell to a kind of summery vibe. So
Wow.
It's kind of an abstract journey to get to the fragrance, but I think stories and feelings and places like that are even if it's not a direct inspiration, it's kind of like all over the place. But backstories like that are what goes into a really unique fragrance.
Nice.
So that's one example. The Garden collection, we've been wanting to change up the look for a while as far as colored bottles, start experimenting with different plaque colors and different looks to the line. So the Garden collection was created with to have in mind a different look, and flowers, had so much variety. We thought that would be a good direction to go down as far as inspiration, and to just be able to have the opportunity to create a more feminine leaning fragrance, maybe something that was lacking from our line. Feminine is subjective in the niche fragrance world, but we wanted some real bold floral notes that maybe a casual female fragrance fan would be instantly drawn to.
Nice. I can definitely tell you a lot of people are fiending after these bottles, because what I really like about it is first you start with the classic black, then you mix in some of the white, and now people, because the bottle is exactly the same but a different color, it still kind of accentuates the line. So I will say bottle presentation matters to me, and being able to stack them up and see like that. I do like the way their elixirs are different as well, so I own a few of the elixirs. But being able to have the classic Amouroud line that if you can see it and know it's Amouroud and then have a different distinction to it is really, really cool. It's really, really
Yeah. My father actually designed the silhouette in the original bottle.
cool. Okay.
So it's cool to give it a different look and be able to see. You can't really see because the light's not going through it from this angle, but really see the different angles of the bottle with the transparent colored glass was fun to do.
Yeah, there is Joel. There is a green
Yeah,
bottle.
look, let me
The
try to get
green.
some better
Yep.
light on this.
Yeah. You just can't see it in the dark, but yeah. So that one is green right there. Yeah. There you go. That's from the Garden Collection, and then they have one that's kind of like burnt oranges with the
Yeah, the
apricot.
apricot nectar. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but moving forward, we're gonna try to get even crazier with the presentation. Some outside the box packaging and bottle colors, different finishes.
Nice.
That kind of stuff is fun for me to play with.
So I know that you talked about kind of like the white woods collection or the white collection and how that's more wearable. How do you basically go through, and when you make a fragrance, are you thinking about wearability, or are you thinking about artistic composition of your fragrances? What are you thinking about as far as how this fragrance and what kind of audience or what kind of market are you trying to sell the fragrance to?
Yeah, so that's tricky when developing because you can't be too biased. I'll have my personal fragrance preferences, but then you kind of have to step outside of that and listen to what people are looking for, and like you said, who is it for? So one of the garden collection, those fragrances alone, we had been tinkering with and showing to different people for 3 years before we
Wow.
finally released them. So in the show I was mentioning earlier, the TFWA Con show. That's a great place to get some feedback and see how our different customers are reacting to it because it's literally people from all over the world. So we'll really do our research and focus group it up with our close colleagues and see how they feel and respond to a huge pool of fragrances that we're developing before we decide to go with a specific one, two, or three. So we've been workshopping these garden collection fragrances for close to 3 years before we released them. And part of that Middle East trip that we did earlier this year was doing that as well. We have a list of new entries that we've been working on, and we wanted to see if there were any clear favorites because we had some favorites, and I was pretty excited that my favorite seems to be the general consensus favorite. So
We got
part
some
of it
weird
is,
new ones that I got to sample.
yeah. I'll send you some sneak peeks. Um, but you got to send them out and see the world reaction. So we really try to get a very diverse reactions to everything we have in development.
So, getting kind of behind the scenes and going into it, how many times? So, say like you have Claude Deer and you've already decided this is the kind of fragrance that you're going to do, or even looking at the Garden Collection. How long does it take from concept to actually going out? So, is it how many times would you go back and forth, or do you actually test it with like family and kind of decide
Yeah.
what's the kind of backstory on how it goes from this is a concept we want to make a fragrance to here it is?
Well, you've definitely run it through the family first, get everybody's opinions, and then yeah, we'll see based off of our initial reactions whether something needs to get bumped up in oil concentration or a little less of this note or that note. We do the initial back and forth of development with that, and then once we think we've got somewhere, oftentimes we'll get the fragrance at different levels, so different oil concentrations to see does it still last at this level. Different versions of the same fragrance, and then
Okay.
decide amongst ourselves which we think is best. And then once we get to a point we like, we take it on the road and see how the world's feeling about it. But I wouldn't say there's a set amount. Some are developed quicker than others. Um, but even just the visual look of things, it takes a year to fully develop the visual look of a product and the production. For the garden collection, we're going out on press to the carton manufacturer and the bottle. We're getting rounds and rounds and rounds of bottles to make sure that the color is correct, and we go out to the printer to make sure that the cartons are coming out matching the color properly to the bottle. So there's a lot of intricate steps to it. But as far as just getting the solution right, there's no real set, number of rounds we do. But we try to make it as quick as possible. Sometimes we get a little too stuck on some details, and it takes longer than we'd like. But
Nice.
that's what goes with creativity. A lot of times you get a little bit too perfectionist, and you got to step back. That's what the taking them abroad helps with, because we might think, oh, it needs this or it needs a little extra of that, but if you go to 6 different countries and everybody you speak to is like loving one, you should just go for it.
Nice. So I know you're a young man. You're definitely younger than I am. And I know I met your father at Scent Explorer.
Yeah.
What was it like kind of growing up in this fragrance industry and being a part of it? How did that kind of shape, I definitely want to do this? Because sometimes you would get in a person would grow up in something and say, I definitely don't want to do this. I want to do something
Yeah.
else. And then you also get people who grow up into it and then that's their love and that's all they do. So how did you growing up in the fragrance industry, how did that affect you and what did you see?
Well, all right. So my entry into it professionally was through design. Growing up, my father worked with Donald practically my whole life. So I've known Donald, the founder of Perfumers, my whole life, practically like a family member. So I remember going into the offices way before Amouroud was even created, back when it was just T Rose, Samba, and some of our other brands, and I'd go in there with markers and draw my own bottles or this and that. But I didn't fall in love with the fragrance side of it until maybe 5 years into really working for Perfumers. I initially came through the door as a designer because for a long time my father was the creative director and the head of design, and my whole life I've been into art. I went to a specialized art high school in New York City. I went to a design college, Pratt, in Brooklyn.
Nice.
And from there, I've always had a love of products and product design and graphics and illustration. So that was my entry point into the company and into the industry. And I grew a love for the actual fragrances, just being around it. For now, I started working straight out of college for Perfumers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming up on my 10th year working for the company pretty much full time. And yeah, I would say into maybe my 4th, 5th year of it, I really started getting into the fragrance side of things, and being able to have that appreciation for fragrances that I wouldn't necessarily wear, but I just really can love and respect the composition of a fragrance without having to wear it. Now I really understand and appreciate all type of fragrance, and that side of it. So yeah, design is how I got into it, and family. But you get around anything for long enough, you really develop an appreciation for the details.
Cool. So I know Perfumers Workshop is kind of like the umbrella for everything. How did it come about actually starting the brand Amouroud, and how did that develop?
So that's kind of, I would say, my father's real brainchild and baby of a brand. We were looking. It was kind of in the beginning of niche becoming popularized. There weren't many well-known niche brands other than, Creed was at the
Right.
time the most popular, most well-known fragrance that could be considered niche. So around 2013 is when real development went into the Amouroud. And my dad, he just came up with the name at lunch one day, just toying around with it, because they've been talking about doing oud since our French office days. So with the capabilities of the niche lane of being able to be creative and kind of think outside of the box and make rare, unique, sometimes very specific fragrances, it was kind of just like the perfect moment. Seeing, okay, this category niche, this is really the lane we could go in with this oud concept, and that's kind of what it developed from. Just that moment in the fragrance history of niche, right before niche skyrocketed as a category, was when the oud concept and the brand name was created, and it was kind of just really good timing as far as the industry trends towards niche.
Nice. Nice.
And
So
we're always dreaming up new brand ideas, and we're in the works with a new idea as well, which is also something unique about our company. There's not a lot of independent perfume brands out there these days, and we're a whole independent perfume company, so we're trying to create new independent perfume brands. We want to keep the ball rolling and keep expanding.
nice. Nice. That so Amouroud, and is that kind of from like the love of oud? Is that where it came from?
hmm
Okay.
I see Joel right there breaking it down. Yeah, more. Yeah,
There
love
you
of
go.
oud.
Yeah, he said the same thing. Okay. Yeah, I thought Amor mean love and oud. So there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
and it was just a
Joe was
fusion of
thinking
that
the same
moment of
way.
having that French office and having our Middle Eastern customers requesting the oud. It was like just a fusion of the two connections.
Nice. Nice. So I did tell you when we were in the backstage and we were talking, I did a video basically on IG and on YouTube that talked about tariffs and how it is affecting the fragrance industry. Uh, a lot of times I wanted to make sure that I was doing the research right, and then uh, you kind of confirmed, yeah, everything that I had researched and everything that I had seen from, say, the tariff standpoint, the legal and factual standpoint was all spot on. Tell me how it's affecting you, because I know that in a sense it doesn't. You are an American fragrance company, but a lot of things aren't basically manufactured in America. So how does that work, and how does that affect Amarud individually?
All right. Well, man, it's tricky because even if a product is manufactured in America, like ours, some parts may be from overseas. So fragrance bottle has sometimes 20 components that go into the product, as far as the carton, the plaque, the cellophane, the bottom label, the cap, the collar, the pump. There's a many steps that go into making one fragrance bottle. So whether you get your pumps from overseas or your collar or your fragrance oils made in the U.S., uh, it it doesn't the overseas parts cost so much more now to import, even if you are manufacturing in the U.S. like we are. So it's a really tricky time right now with these tariffs being imposed, because even if it's just a small piece of your product, it's it's the cost of creating it is raising substantially, and it's not just the fragrance industry. The tariffs are going to hurt really any brand right now, or product that has any components that originate overseas. So yeah, navigating that is tough right now, but you know we're figuring it out. You always gotta adjust.
Adapt and
Um,
adjust. Well, one thing you told me is basically the glass. Like you said, the glass, none of it's made in America, and in fact,
well,
most
I
of it
wouldn't
is made in.
say, yeah,
Okay,
most of it a lot of glass is made overseas, France, China, India, all over the place. But there are no factories in the U.S. I don't know if I'm spilling too many. I don't want to get too in depth with the dark secrets of the industry or whatever. But yeah, America right now is not set up to make. They don't have the factories anymore to make quality glass at that level um, for the needs of these fragrance companies. So uh, even if we wanted to make every single piece of every product originated in the U.S., it's impossible. We just don't even have the facilities to do anymore. Um, so I get the concept of the tariffs to try to bring more, labor and work to the U.S. as far as manufacturing, but it's actually going to, I think, do the opposite. As there are many companies that are manufacturing and assembling things in the U.S. today that aren't going to be able to do so anymore and are going to have to look other places. And it's going to ultimately lead to U.S. manufacturing facilities losing business and losing jobs ultimately. So the tariffs are kind of a scary thing. We're right in the beginning of it and trying to figure out the best way to navigate and not change our price, retail price, not change the quality of anything, and that definitely won't be changing. We're gonna find solutions for everything. We always do.
yeah. Yeah, and it's a tricky situation because if the price that you're paying for, say, the bottles or the atomizers or the caps or the plaques goes up, it's a tricky situation to not pass that down, because now your margins are getting your margins are shrinking, and people really don't understand as far as from the actual fragrance house that if let's say even your fragrance sells for 240, it's not like when somebody pays 240 at the retail store that you're getting 240 because you're
Yeah, yeah.
selling it from a
You got a cost
distributor.
of goods.
Right, and there is your price that you're putting into it, and then if it goes to a distributor and then it has to go to retail, that's probably e- economics 101, but I won't go too much further into that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's making it more difficult to create niche fragrance. And I've been one of the dreams of mine is to turn Perfumers Workshop into or add a piece to Perfumers Workshop where we can help people who are passionate about the industry find an entry point. Let's say
Mhm.
somebody wants to create their own brand, we can help, like kind of ode to our origins, figure out a way to help people develop their own custom fragrances or brands and help them get in the door of this industry if they because some of the influencers and some of the content creators such as yourself you're more knowledgeable on fragrance than I would say some of these fragrance brand owners. So I think it would be it's definitely a dream of mine to figure out a way to get Perfumers Workshop to have a side to it where the mission is to help people create their own brands, help people create their own custom fragrances, and get in the door. Um,
Man, that would be.
and the tariff thing is going to make that even more complicated. But for someone to have an entry level point into the industry, into being a perfume creator, um, and that's a shame because it's only adding more hurdles. But that's still definitely a really important idea to me. I'd love to figure out a way to do that because I have several friends who have brands, clothing brands, different things going for them that a fragrance added to that portfolio would be awesome. And I really want to figure out a way in a system and a price structure to help people get into the game as far as being fragrance creators or brand owners.
That is really cool. In fact, I just had an epiphany. Scented Charm. That's going to be my brand. I'm going to call it Scented Charm. We're going to work on it.
I like that. I got you. I'll help you with some whatever. We'll talk.
We will. We will. So I guess another thing, because you definitely have your kind of finger on the pulse of what's going on in the luxury niche fragrance industry. What are some things that you see are emerging trends, or what are some notes that people hadn't typically used, but now are kind of emerging as notes that people are putting into fragrances, and how does that work out, if you know anything about that?
Well, I've just been personally seeing uh well, in the past couple of years, gourmand has been going crazy. Everybody wants gourmand fragrances, and in the last year or two, nonstop vanilla requests. Everybody wants something with vanilla in it. Um, so just simply the gourmand scene has been kind of exploding. I see a lot of requests for gourmand based fragrances, both in Scent Explorer and in stores that we work with, and vanilla in particular being just like the most popular note right now. But people are starting to get even more creative with the gourmand notes. So I'm seeing people using, marshmallow and all kinds of crazy edible ingredients
They
in
are.
their fragrances. I've heard some pistachio, matcha, tea ideas mixed in, which is a little more interesting to me than marshmallow. But we'll see where that goes. I like it because I got a sweet tooth, so I like the sweet fragrances.
Okay, but and that's a question. So having a sweet tooth, does liking it as far as edible, what is that about smelling that as a fragrance on somebody else? So even though you like that, you like to have somebody smell like that as well?
I mean, I wear what I like to smell. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes I even lean towards more quote unquote feminine fragrances because if I'm gonna have to smell it all day on me, I want it to smell like something I like to smell. So
Right.
I wouldn't go as far as like I wouldn't want to smell something that smells straight up like a birthday cake or something like that. But I like just that hint of I like vanilla is just uh can be added to a lot of different formulations, like
Mm-hmm.
as an anchor note with some interesting ingredients sprinkled in. Um, so I do like smelling gourmand notes on people, but I don't like the over the top, just sweet, artificial sweetness. I like the pairings with like strange combinations. I think maybe my personal favorite out of the Amouroud line is Golden Oud. It's got Madagascar vanilla,
Right.
bourbon, smoked caramel, um, and I think the smoked bourbon note mixed. There we go.
Yeah.
The
That's
smoked bourbon mixed in with the vanilla is a
yeah.
really nice pairing. So
Right.
stuff like that, not just straightforward candy cake kind of smell, but the strange combinations with a gourmand note I really, really like.
I really like Golden Oud, and I know it has an Indian oud base of resin that's in it, and to me, it's one of your more prominent oud fragrances with that kind of. It's still kind of dialed down because I know Indian oud can get really, really animalic or barnyard, but I
Mm-hmm.
really like Golden Oud. That's one that I like a lot. Another one that I can say to me that's semi gourmand is Mysterious Rose. So
Uh-huh.
Mysterious Rose with the praline and how it mixes in and it goes into that ambery vanilla base, and the way that you take the two types of rose, where you take the Damask rose and the Bulgarian rose, and it's like intense in the beginning with the rose forward, and then the Bulgarian rose gets a little honeyed and a little sweeter and
Sweet,
goes into
yeah.
that amber. This is I definitely, this is my number one on the list, and this was one of my latest buys, but I really like Mysterious Rose a lot. I really like Mysterious Rose a lot,
Nice.
and it's kind of got, it's not full gourmand because the rose kind of takes it kind of more to center, but it's a really good pairing of the types of rose and florals with the gourmand piece of it as well. So it's really cool, really cool.
Nice. Yeah, you broke that down good.
Oh man, I am. They call me the professor. That's kind of my nickname. I really try to understand fragrances, and a lot of times before I have it for the scent of the day, I will wear it at least 3 or 4 times, and I'll go through and try to understand and pick it apart and really understand why I love it so much, because scent and fragrances really do, they lift moods, they change your mindset, they are therapeutic in a way. And so I really love a whole lot of different fragrances, and there are different reasons why I love them. But yeah, I am a fragrance enthusiast, fragrance fanatic, fragrance
Yeah,
addict.
they're like, but it's like a bookmark in your life too. You know, like it's like kind of like with me with music. Every time with certain songs, like I'll play the song, and just even for a split second, right when the song starts, there's always like one place that I think of when I hear a song, and it's like a specific place that I listen to that song in, right? So similar with fragrance, like certain Amouroud fragrances I'll associate with certain trips or certain summers where that one was being developed, or just different associations. It really like takes you back to that place for a second, and it's a good way to archive memories. And even some of our other brands like Samba or T Rose, it makes me feel like I'm a kid because I remember going in and smelling this one fragrance as a kid, and it really takes you back to those places. My cat wants to get in the lab.
So what, I know you talked sort of about kind of customer feedback and what you've taken over to say when you were in Dubai and things like that. How does customer feedback kind of direct you in what you're going to sell? So I would believe that you have things that sell more heavily, say in the Middle East as opposed to in America. What does that do as far as your marketing, and how do you basically distribute, say, in the Middle East as opposed to in America? Are there different fragrances, different lines, different?
Well, we're trying to tailor because I think we have 24 fragrances now under Amouroud. So we're trying to per region now. Like let's say a region started with all 24. We're trying to pull back and really put the marketing and the power behind the ones that work in each region. So we're starting to tailor our range per country. So and now opening in new stores will suggest an assortment based on what we've seen work in a similar area. So it is really a game of figuring out what works where, and just having open communication with our partners, our distributors, our store groups that we work with on what is working. We want to hear the sales report every month, see what's moving, see what's working, and cater each order to reflect that. So people aren't stuck with anything that isn't working there when it could be working over here.
Wonderful.
So
So
it's a tailoring game. You gotta
right.
add and subtract what works and what doesn't.
There was a question in the line. I think you answered that. So you have 24 fragrances total in the line,
I
and
believe so.
in general, because I know there are some people that are new to Amouroud. If someone is new to Amouroud, which fragrance would you recommend as a starting point, and why would you recommend that one?
Well, I'd ask them first what kind of fragrances they generally gravitate towards, so I could lead them in more of a tailored direction. Um, if I was just to give my personal favorites, I would probably say Golden Oud, Miel Sauvage, Whetstone. I like
Mhm.
Himalayan Woods a lot. But then if someone's looking for a more straightforward oud, I'm gonna lead them towards Oud du jour, Oud after dark, Oud tabac. Our newest Elixir Virgin Leather is a really nice leather fragrance that
Right.
has more prominent oud notes. But if somebody says, "Look, I've been kind of scared of oud. I don't know," I would show them something like Miel Sauvage, where you can smell the oud, but it has notes of
Honey.
honey in
Right.
there that'll smooth it out and not make it such a uh, not harsh, but such a powerful first smell. Um, so Scent Explore, for example, is always really fun and a really interesting exercise of just talking with people and seeing what they like and trying. And it's like a fun exercise of trying to find something to match their personality or match the profiles that they tend to gravitate towards, or throwing something out of left field that they wouldn't think they would like, and you find a match. That's always like a rewarding feeling to show somebody something that they might be scared of or think they won't like, and then they wind up liking it.
Yep.
So,
Miel Sauvage is number 10 on the list. So we're
oh,
going right
nice.
through my list. Another thing, I guess. Okay, so what if they wanted a signature scent? Now, I think there are a couple that I look at as signature scents, like Silver Birch. To
Uh
me,
huh.
it's kind of a signature scent.
If
Saffron
you're a
Rare.
fig, if you love fig, like when I'm talking with people, if someone ever mentions fig, I show them silver birch right away because I think it's a really unique,
It
um,
is.
really well-rounded, deep, uh, unique fig fragrance. So there's certain identifying ingredients where if somebody says that, it sparks my brain and I know which one to pair them with. But silver birch is a nice one.
Yeah, I definitely, that's one thing, and we haven't talked about that up until this point. But one thing I can say about Amouroud, the line itself, is it is not in any way, most of the time, when you smell one of the fragrances, you're not going to sit back and say, oh, that smells like something else. You've got a lot of unique fragrances that are specific to kind of Amouroud. It has an Amouroud signature and DNA in it. And that's another thing that I really like about the House of Amouroud.
Thanks.
So I know there's some upcoming releases, and we're gonna work in the background to see how I can get my nose on a few of those. How many releases do you plan on releasing as far as this year? Because I know the Garden Collection came last year. What kind, is it a new line like the Garden Collection that's going to release, or how many fragrances are you planning on releasing?
Right now, we've been thinking of doing one at a time.
Hmm.
So we're hoping to get maybe two or three new fragrances um, by the end of the year, hopefully, if it all goes smooth. But we also want to take some time to really promote and get the story of some of our really shining stars out there. So we're even looking into re-releasing some of our favorites and bestsellers with a new look, as we did with the Garden Collection.
Nice.
So that's one thing we're working on, as well as new fragrances. But uh, we've mostly released in collections, multiple fragrances at a time, and sometimes one or two gets lost amongst the release.
Okay.
So we've been considering doing one at a time just so we can fully get everybody behind one at a time. Check this out so nothing gets lost in the mix. So
That
right
makes sense.
now we have one that is might be my new favorite fragrance and is probably the closest to completion. And we're having a meeting on that one next week. So hopefully I can get you some more concrete info on that release in the coming months. But I'm really excited about that one. I'm out of the submission sample we have. So
Nice. So Scent Explorer, I met you in Scent Explorer. How long have you been a feature and haven't had a booth at Scent Explorer?
So we've been a part of Sun Explore since the first show.
Nice.
We got in touch with Max really early, and he was a really early supporter of the brand and helped us uh, get in contact with this fragrance community. And he's helped grow this fragrance community immensely over the past, I think, six years. I think it's 6 or 7 years this year. It's 6 or 7
Yeah,
Sun Explorer.
I think this
And
year will be the 7th. Yeah, I think it started in 2018, I believe.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, last year was my first year going,
Oh,
but
really?
yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
that was
Max has managed to build it out and make it better every year. So we're gonna be there again this year for sure, and we look forward to it every year because you get to talk to the real fans, the real fragrance supporters, and get a different perspective on it. Not just dealing with store owners, store groups, industry people. It's like real people, and it's always a highlight of the fragrance year, getting to connect with everybody. And we feel Max has really, transcended the influencer title and has helped create a really connected fragrance community that draws people from all over the world, all over the U.S. And it's something that we're, grateful to be a part of and contribute to. So Scent
yeah.
Explorer is a really fun time for us.
Yeah, I had a really good time. The year before I tried, but I don't know what happened. There was some reason why I couldn't get the ticket, and then it sold out and I couldn't go. But this year I bought it early to make sure I got a ticket, and it really was eye-opening for me to see all the brands, to meet all the people, to see other content creators and things like that. I've been basically doing content creation for almost 2 years now, but it was really eye-opening and helped to get me to meet some great people. Well, of course, I met Amouroud there, so that was
Yeah.
that was a great experience, and I'm definitely looking forward to this year and what can go on, because I believe from what I heard, it went from basically almost doubling from about 3,000 people to over 6,500 people in the last year. So hopefully they'll
Wow.
expand the venue and make it even better, because even having the venue that we had, it was still packed wall to wall,
Yeah.
standing room only, and it was like herding cattle. But hopefully even more room to try to go through it, and more different fragrance houses and people that you can interact with. But it was great to be able to talk with you guys, with you and Bill, your dad. That was an awesome opportunity for me.
Yeah.
We like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely looking forward to seeing you there again this year.
Yes, sir. Let's see. I guess you kind of talked about some of your favorites. What is your absolute favorite? Like, what armor? Which one do you wear the most?
Golden Oud.
Golden.
Definitely Golden Oud. Let me try to think. I think, yeah, Golden Oud definitely most worn. Santal though, Santal, the Indies, that's also up there for me.
Okay.
It's like a nice, smooth, kind of warm sandalwood. Not too heavy, but it is oody, so you get the oud notes, but you're not too overwhelmed by it. I really like Santal. I like Silver Birch. Silver Birch is one of my favorite fragrances, but I have to be in the right kind of mood to wear it.
Okay.
And let me think. I really like the Enchanted Garden. It has a jasmine in it, but it's not too overpowering of the jasmine. Like I've encountered some jasmine haters that still like it.
So, and I'll have to remember, because I think I don't have a sample of Enchanted Garden. So is the jasmine? If I remember correctly, smelling it at Scent Explorer, the jasmine wasn't too indolic, so it was a nice kind of floral type jasmine.
Yeah, what kind of a white floral. It's got some really subtle neroli notes in there, I believe.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll send you a bottle.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Um, and just coming down to the end, and I really appreciate it, man. It, just you giving the time and being in a place to uh, just share Amouroud and the passion behind Amouroud with the fragrance community is really a great thing. What do you personally define as a great fragrance? Like, what makes a fragrance great to you?
Oh man, something definitely something you won't know till a couple years later, but something that brings you back to the time you were wearing it, or to the time you were first introduced to it. Um, like I was saying, it kind of being like a memory bookmark,
Okay.
a fragrance that you smell and you instantly get transported back to a specific memory. That's one of the most powerful things in fragrance is its ability to bookmark a place and time in your life, and something that you just won't get sick of. A great fragrance is just something that makes you feel confident, feels like it adds to your mood. Um, but the memory thing, that's what stands out to me when I get a fragrance and I smell it, and then I remember that specific trip because that's what it smelled like because we were spraying it that whole trip. Or so I think anything that really is connected to a memory is what makes a fragrance great. Something specific.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good
And
thing.
something you're not gonna get sick of. Something versatile. You can wear it at night, during the day, you know, summer, winter. Some people don't like heavy fragrances in the summer. Some find a way to wear it. Everybody's different. This is art. It's all subjective. It's all subjective and how it fits with you. You know.
So some of the places where you're at, I know you're at the Dallas Center when we talked about reconnecting and seeing some of the new parts of the line. You're at the refinery. What other store? I know you're at Max Aroma, of course. With
Oswald, we're in Oswald in New York. That's a great location. If you're in New York, you should definitely stop by Oswald. They have a nice location in Soho. Um, and yeah, really all over the world. Like if somebody's overseas somewhere and they're looking for Emerald, message us on Instagram and I'll put you in touch with a store.
nice, yeah, and they definitely are at Amouroud on Instagram. You can look them up. Um, yeah, so man, that we went through basically all the questions that I had.
Yeah,
Man, I really appreciate it. Definitely when some of the new fragrances come out, we'll try to do something again. Like I said, the top 10, I have it basically finished, and I'm gonna drop that either tomorrow or Saturday. We're looking forward to get more people around because I'm a rude, and I've said it a lot of times. You got great luxury niche fragrances at great prices, and it's a brand that not everybody has been talking about. And I think that we need to work to get more shine on the House of Amouroud. So we're definitely working to do that.
for sure.
And Calvin, I
Appreciate it.
really appreciate it. I give you the last word of anything you want to say to the people.
No, I
As
just want to say thanks, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to, kind of give a candid background of where we come from as a brand. And yeah, just give a little insight onto what inspires us and also kind of break that barrier of brand and, you know, who's running it. I'm talking to you how I talk to my friends. I'm not trying to give you a polished up story of everything. I want to inspire people to get into this industry. Your everyday fragrance enthusiast can find a way and a lane for themselves in this, even past content. I really want to inspire people to, if they love fragrance, to figure out a way to work in fragrance. You know, there's a spot for, you know, the everyday just huge fragrance fan. It's not such a big gap and such a difficult industry to infiltrate. So I just want to inspire people to feel like they could potentially create a brand from scratch as well, you know, and hopefully one day be able to open that lane and help contribute to people doing that. That's a huge goal of mine. So I hope everybody keeps up with Amouroud and sees what we have in store and discovers the line if they haven't. And like I said, let's do a list of people in the chat or frequent names of yours or some of your audience, and we can do a random selection and send a couple discovery sets out. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna do. I'm gonna go through the IG and the YouTube side, put all the people that were in the chat, and then we'll work it out. So everybody, look forward to that. Look forward to the top 10 coming out. Man, really appreciate it. I consider you a friend.
Consider you one as well.
Can't wait till Sin Explorer comes back out. I see you.
For sure. And if you wind up in New York anytime in between, reach out. Let's get lunch. Let's talk. We'll link up.
Definitely. But we're gonna go out on a song. I'll put you backstage, but I'll get right back to you. Just right. Appreciate it. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. I sniff it, yes, you can. And 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 I sniff it, yes, you can. Well, go on. And I sniff it to all the people who like frags like Charm City does. Made this track so you really know what live was. Come together over fragrances. That's the why, cuz getting love and support from the vibers. Put your sense of the day to check, cuz no wrong sense where whatever and for just because. Positivity and love with a live hug. A life full of fragrance is what I love. Finding hidden gems from Dior to Roja Dove. Negativity and fighting is what we're above. Try to diss, we throw up a hand with a big shrug. Like a card of positives, it's a plus love. If you wanna cause drama, won't even think of us. The connoisseurs fly high like a dove. And I sniff it, yes you can. 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 And I sniff it with my frags that I can spray in layers. A connoisseur, but also a poem sayer. At times a live studio purveyor. Won't choke you out, but not a sissy sprayer. Hit the like, you'll be doing us a really big favor. Subscribe if this track has a lot of flavor. Rest in peace, Five Dog, who's resting with our savior. Follow us for the fragrance behavior. Make a note of the fragrances we gave you, one by one, or apply them in layers. Do you like the fragrances we share? Keep an open mind, don't be a naysayer. Find some new frags that you can savor. Doesn't matter if you're minor or major. From niche to designer, we're the player. As you inhale like a breath of fresh air.